De pie.
Ordinary citizens, as monstrous creatures pour out of the dimensional rifts, linking Earth to treacherous dungeons. Powerless individuals perish helplessly until the arrival of the hunters. This catastrophic event seems poised to bring about Earth's downfall. However, rescuing civilians is merely a secondary effect of their primary objective. Their sole purpose is to eliminate monsters, amass wealth, and ascend to greater strength. Regardless of their motivations, their influence undeniably positions them as the heroes of this new world order. But for our protagonist, heroism holds no significance, nor does a new world matter when his own reality is crumbling. Right before his eyes, Cheon Hasten sits in silent contemplation on the bus, pondering the doctor's grim prognosis. He is afflicted with a terminal illness, and death could claim him at any moment due to his body's dependence on toxins. As he grapples with the implications of his diagnosis, his phone vibrates with an incoming call from his elder sister. She inquires about his whereabouts. He informs her that he's currently in Gaebong-dong, heading home. The reason for her call is to inform him she's working late tonight. She won't be back for a while. This isn't the first instance of her extended work hours, and Hasten worries she's pushing herself too hard. But everything she does is for him, so it doesn't bother her. She then inquires about the doctor's diagnosis. Hasten hesitates for a moment, then fabricates a lie. He tells her the results showed nothing significant, concealing his terminal illness. She can't know he's dying, especially from a disease the doctors never encountered. His body is ravaged by toxins, his survival a sheer miracle. While his body's resilience was astonishing, Hasten was more preoccupied with the doctor's prognosis. There was no chance of survival. Defeated, the older man could only hang his head and offer his apologies. Hasten concludes the call with his sister and plunges back into despair. But his somber thoughts are abruptly shattered by a blaring alarm, piercing through every passenger's phone. Simultaneously, panic erupts on the bus as some contemplate an immediate evacuation. Haesun checks his phone, his eyes landing on an urgent alert. A double gate breach has occurred in Gupadong. In Gaebong-dong, a chilling realization washes over him, a moment of delayed understanding. Gupadong, that's precisely where he is right now. But the epiphany arrives too late. He glances out the bus window, only to be met with enormous, menacing crimson eyes glaring back at him. A monstrous frog looms outside the bus, its tongue lashing out, piercing through the glass. It impales someone on the opposite end of the vehicle, killing them instantly. The victim's wife, along with the remaining passengers, can only watch in horrified shock as the man succumbs to the frog's venomous tongue protruding from his chest. No one could quite comprehend the scene unfolding before them. A hush fell over the bus as minds struggled to process the horror. Then, pandemonium erupted. Some passengers bolted from the vehicle, while others attempted to comfort the elderly woman clinging to her deceased husband. Meanwhile, at an undisclosed corporation, Hassan's sister, Songhua, completed her final task and prepared for a respite with a colleague. The two women entered the break room, steaming beverages in hand. Songhua's co-worker immediately initiated conversation, praising Songhua's dedication. "People your age should be out dating and having fun," she remarked. "But instead, you're working extra hours to cover your ailing brother's medical expenses." Songhua offered a gentle smile, disagreeing silently. He was her sole remaining family. After all, caring for him was her duty. After a brief pause, the woman chuckled softly, clearly charmed by their bond. She's oblivious to the smile vanishing from Songhua's face, only noticing when the cup slips from Songhua's grasp, sending liquid splashing across the floor. Eyes wide with shock, the young woman stares blankly at the news report, detailing the devastating gate explosion in Gaebong-dong. Her beloved brother is there, right in the heart of danger. He's trapped in Gaebong-dong. The area is consumed by death and destruction. Miraculously, Hasten is still alive, but his time is running out. One of the monstrous creatures has already ensnared his leg, surrounding him. Anyone who could have offered aid lies dead. He's running out of options. His phone vibrates relentlessly with frantic messages from his terrified sister, but he doesn't even have a moment to respond. The monster drags him closer to the brink of death. Overwhelmed by rage and helplessness, he refuses to surrender. Instead, he'll choose a warrior's death. He'll fight with everything he has, hoping to earn a Medal of Valor, a recognition that would surely provide immense support for his sister. Left with no alternative, he snatches a shard of glass, disregarding the stinging cuts on his hands. He braces himself, ready to expend his last ounce of strength battling the monstrous frog. This final act of defiance, this desperate struggle, is the only gift he can offer his sister. He goads the frog, provoking it to attack. The creature readily complies, hoisting Hasten into the air, poised to devour him whole. But Hasten refuses to become the beast's next victim. He will make this monster experience the terror it has inflicted on others. He will avenge those who fell prey to its savage hunger. The frog releases its grip, dropping Hasten towards its gaping maw. Seizing this fleeting chance, he jabs the glass shard into the creature's eye. The frog bellows in agony, thrashing wildly, flinging Hasten away with brutal force, causing him to lose consciousness. He crashes to the ground. His eyes flutter open, disoriented and bewildered. He finds the monstrous frog looming over him, its gaze filled with malevolent intent. Instead of a fatal blow, his attack only seemed to enrage the monster further. The venomous toad ensnared Hassan with its massive tongue, ensuring this time there would be no escape. Then it yanked him towards its gaping maw, devouring him in a single gulp. With no other recourse, Hassan could only pray the association would eliminate the frog. As he slid down the amphibian's gullet into its stomach, he pondered if this was truly his demise. Resigning himself to death, his thoughts drifted to his devoted sister, who had sacrificed everything to care for him. Despite his deformities and ailments, she had always cherished and safeguarded him. The memory of the woman who dedicated her life to his well-being ignited a spark of defiance within him. He refused to perish. At that moment, as thoughts of survival consumed him, a transformation began within his body. Externally, the frog froze, convulsing in agony. Whatever was happening to Hassan was afflicting the creature as well. It can barely withstand the force. Then, in a blinding flash of white light, the beast detonates. Hazen remains completely unscathed as he collapses to the ground. News of the dual gate breach spreads like wildfire, and catastrophic damage is anticipated in the wake of the disaster. But instead of addressing the true devastation, the media lauds Chairman Gu Gunai, who deployed a specialized task force to contain the situation. This is a direct response from the Glory Guild, the organization governing the Gaebong-dong district. Despite the carnage engulfing the streets, the news overflows with accolades for the Glory Guild and their swift action in confronting any crisis. As a woman sprints through a blood-soaked street littered with bodies, the chairman emerges to personally express his remorse to anyone affected by the incident. The woman is Sangwa, and as she risks her life navigating the gore-drenched streets, Chairman Gu Gunai proclaims that they're doing everything in their power to regain control of the situation. He implores everyone to seek safety and remain in a secure location. Then, with a reassuring smile, he guarantees that the Glory Guild will safeguard them all. He jolts awake, coated in the gruesome remains of the poisoned frog. His last memory is of being devoured by the monstrous creature. Yet miraculously, he's alive. As he rises and his senses slowly return, a familiar voice calls out his name. He instantly recognizes it as his elder sister's and shouts back in her direction. The voice is faint, a mere whisper, but undeniably hers. Struggling to his feet, he wonders why she would venture into such a perilous place. He manages to stand and sprints towards the source of her desperate cries. Song desperately calls out for him. Song desperately calls out to him, but instead of her brother's voice, she hears a sickening, crunching noise emanating from a nearby alleyway. Taking a gamble, she cries out for her brother in the confined area. But instead of him, she's confronted by a claustrophobic space teeming with grotesque creatures, feasting on a lifeless body. She attempts a slow retreat, but her foot shatters a shard of glass behind her, alerting all the monsters to her presence simultaneously. Panic sets in as she nervously backs away, the monsters encroaching upon her. Before she breaks into a desperate sprint, she flees with all her might, pursued by the menacing beasts. She races down the desolate street, her heart pounding, but her escape is thwarted by a dead end at a ravaged section of the road. Tears well up as she thinks of her brother. Plagued by the fear that she's arrived too late to rescue him, she desperately clings to a sliver of hope. But in her dire predicament, all she can do is brace herself, close her eyes, and await the inevitable. Just as one of the creatures lunges at her, something appears out of thin air and swats the monster away, sending it hurtling through the air. Sangwa turns towards the recognizable voice and spots Hasten. Covered in blood, rage burning in his eyes, a metal pipe clutched in his hands. It seemed the Glory Guild wouldn't be arriving anytime soon. The citizens were forced to take matters into their own hands. He urged Songhua to keep her distance, to retreat as far as possible, promising to return and rescue her. But logically, a normal person facing off against monsters was a suicidal endeavor. Yet, Chun Hassan felt a strange conviction that he could somehow prevail. Firstly, the small swarms of dark toads surrounding them were inherently frail. Their primary offense was poison. Physically, they were utterly unremarkable. Secondly, he'd inexplicably become stronger. There were no visible alterations to his physique, but he felt an undeniable surge in power. The third source of his confidence stemmed from a nagging question. While unconscious, the giant toad that had engulfed him was saturated with toxins. Logically, he should have perished as well the instant the monster made contact with him. But instead of perishing, he grew stronger, his wounds seemingly mending themselves. This convinced Hasten that the toad's primary offensive strategy was ineffective against him. This realization solidified his belief that, despite the odds not being entirely in his favor and being surrounded by a multitude of toads, he could emerge victorious. This misplaced confidence caused Hasten to lower his guard. A colossal monster, dwarfing any he'd encountered previously, materialized behind him and swatted him away. With a single blow from its enormous hand, he was sent hurtling into a wall, instantly rendered unconscious. Through his weary and battered eyes, he could barely make out the form of his sister, on the verge of being attacked by the same behemoth that had just sent him flying. He was fortunate to have survived, but it appeared Song wouldn't be so lucky. He screamed for her to evade the attack, promising to save her, but his arm was undoubtedly fractured from the previous blow. Unable to bear his agony, she urges him to retreat and escape. Ignoring her pleas, he continues to yell for her to flee, but it's too late. The monster lunges, its arms slashing towards her. In her final moments, she turns, offering her brother a whispered apology, just as the colossal claw descends upon her, painting the street crimson with her blood. Someone like her, who dedicated her life to his well-being, didn't deserve such a gruesome end, or so he believed. Yet, he was powerless to alter the tragic events. Hasten crumbled to his knees, paralyzed by shock, grappling with the incomprehensible reality of what had transpired. Why would she sacrifice herself for him? He was doomed anyway, while she had a future brimming with possibilities. As fury surged within him, he sensed a power coalescing around his being. It resembled a gigantic, crimson serpent, emerging from his body, bending to his will. He's clueless about this creature's nature, but they both instinctively agree. The frog must perish. The serpent darts forward, ripping through the frog with a single swift strike, obliterating it instantly. Atop a building, a woman observes the entire spectacle, a smile playing on her lips. The boy successfully summoned a red viper, despite its recent awakening. She contemplates if he possesses the potential to achieve something she's long yearned to witness. However, to accomplish that, he must first master his newfound abilities. Alerted by the resounding clamor of the summoning, all the monsters begin to converge on him. She anticipates having to assist him in eliminating the colossal toad, advancing menacingly toward him and his sister. Haisen carefully lowers his wounded sister to the ground as a horde of toads charges relentlessly towards him. Amidst the pandemonium, he vows resolutely that he won't allow his sister to perish because of him. She sacrificed herself for him, a sacrifice he cannot let be in vain. Fueled by newfound determination, he vowed to protect her, no matter the cost. He draped his hoodie over her, shielding her from view.